Sorry about that, guys. I'm back. I have to re-record this because I guess my voice meter was off, so you could hear me, and if my mic was on, you could hear the speakers, but you weren't able to hear direct audio, so you didn't know what Benny Johnson was saying. This is such an important story. I was like, you know what? We're gonna just go ahead and re-record. Let me just give you a quick breakdown. There was a cover up of the J6 pipe bomber. We didn't know who it was for years, but yet they got this person on video putting down the bomb. But this is one of the most heavily surveillanced cities in the world, but they couldn't figure out who this person was. It's not that they couldn't figure it out. There was an FBI and a CIA cover up. We now have to find out who put this person up to leaving those bombs. But the person, it's a 98% chance, was a Capitol Police trans person, a woman that was cosplaying as being a man, was the person who left the bombs. And they were able to figure it out because they have footage of her walking on J6, compared her walk to the person walking with the bombs. And they proved that the FBI was trying to make it so that you couldn't figure out when you're watching the J6 videos, you weren't able to notice her limp. She has a limp because of a soccer injury back in 2017, and we have that footage too. But they were covering up because the person involved was trans. Remember, the globalists are doing the trans agenda, the Zionists are doing the gay agenda. They're not on the same team. They're actually working against each other. But now this just confirms it that the globalists not only have control of our CIA, but the FBI. So that means the Zionists only have the White House. I don't even know who they even have left. They're on the ropes. But Benny Johnson's going to do a great breakdown. But this is amazing because for years they framed us Trump supporters as being the people that left those bombs. Take a listen.
Or for, I don't know, other federal agents to break into the Capitol? I guess we will find out, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Sund said in the first iteration of the report from the Blaze, the pipe bombs were discovered at the perfect timing to distract, divide, and deplete. The American people demand the truth soon. Those responsible must be held accountable. The pipe bombs were discovered at the perfect timing to distract and deplete my resources so that the Capitol could be stormed. And now Steve Baker, investigative reporter from The Blaze, has this report out. Ladies and gentlemen, I am simply going to read you the report. I have called the FBI. I have called the DOJ. I have spoken with Steve Baker about this report. He stands by every word of it. I'm going to call all these allegations at this point, but he's identified who he believes is the pipe bomber and is a member of the Capitol Police. This is just the biggest scandal in conspiracy in American history, period. Many heroes involved in bringing this to light. Some we will name in the coming days. Some want no recognition. And there's so much more yet to be told about the story. So it sounds like more is coming. The Blaze Media. A former Capitol Police officer, forensic match for January 6 pipe bomber, sources say. Forensic analysis of a female U.S. Capitol Police officer's gait is 94 to 98% match to a unique stride of a long-sought January 6 pipe bomber suspect, according to the Blaze investigation, confirmed several intelligence sources. The source close to the congressional investigation of January 6th additionally told the Blaze that new evidence has emerged recently that pointed towards law enforcement being involved in the planting of the pipe bombs.
And that makes perfect sense for why they could never figure out who this lone person was. It was actually someone in law enforcement. Now, if they were covering up, then that means that the other Capitol police officers were involved. I knew there was something off because I watched the footage from J6. I was able to look at the tally. No officers were killed by anybody who was there that was protesting or rioting, whatever. But yet, these people were going up and testifying in front of Congress and snotting at the nose and lying and crying about the carnage and the mayhem and how they thought they were going to die. All these lies when they were literally walking the what was it called, the shaman. They were just peacefully walking him around the different rooms, holding the door for him, shaking his hand, taking pictures. But yet they were snotting at the nose and crying and lying to the J6 commission. And then when they were trying to impeach Trump over it, I knew something was wrong then. I should have long suspected law enforcement, but it's just that sometimes you have more faith in our institutions because that's all we have. But when Trump talks about the enemy from within, and then you find out our own intelligence agencies were looking to do um, what is it called? A false flag the day before he was supposed to speak, left the bombs there to do a fake false flag, and they were going to, and they framed Trump supporters. You know, I was supposed to be in GC for J6, but on the 5th was a friend of mine's birthday, and it's like the AKAs have their parties. So I ended up going to one of those, and I overdid it, and I missed my flight that morning. And when I tried to reschedule, all the flights to DC were booked. I was supposed to be at J6 that day, missed my flight. And then by the time I woke up and turned on the TV, I'm seeing all this nonsense about riots. But I'm like, why are these people acting differently than where everyone else? I was like, these aren't even acting like Trump supporters. Then we find out years later, 275 FBI agents were in the crowd doing what? Turns out they were the ones doing the rioting, breaking stuff, and trying to get the crowd to follow them. And that led to all those fake prosecutions, which locked people in prison, political prisoners, for years. They framed us, they lied on us because we're patriots. We love our country. We also want our elections to be fair. We believe in our right to vote. We don't want it diluted with fraud, and we were there to peacefully protest that. Even Trump told us to go there and peacefully protest. They splice up the video so that you think he says to go there and fight like hell, blah. It was all fake. You know, the man from the BBC in the UK, he had to step down today because that video came out that he spliced it together. Fraud. All of it was a fraud. And they used our own officers. And then this woman, after J6, she got a job working for the CIA. So what if somebody in the CIA had already put her up to this? See, when the Zionists took out Kirk, apparently they flew in mercenaries from Egypt. They didn't use anyone local because it'll be hard to get somebody local to do something like that to such a great guy. And also, if there's any footage or anybody gets caught, you're going to need plausible deniability. You'll be able to trace it. They were sloppy with this. They used somebody who has an injury that is so identifiable that they knew in advance they would have to edit the footage of J6 because when you see this officer, you'll be able to say, wait a minute, that's the same stride as the person who left the bombs. This is insane. This is diabolical. The fact that they literally were covering this up. We got to question everything going forward. I'm going to let Benny go ahead and finish.
We're effing in on it. I've read this report twice, and I'm going to give you the TLDR. The TLDR is that this report alleges that Shawnee Ray Kirchhoff, 31, of Alexandria, Virginia, matches the exact style of walking and a very specific limp based on an injury that she received when she was a soccer player. And that the behavior of Shawnee Ray Kirchhoff during January 6th and her future employment at the CIA point to her involvement here. The mystery around this then, of course, re-centralizes on, wait a second, if Capitol Hill police officers were planting bombs, what does that mean? Who was ordering that? And what they're using to find this conclusion is the height of Shawnee Ray Kirchhoff. The FBI says that the bomber is 5'7". We have long said on the program, well, it might be a woman then, because the average height of a woman in America is 5'8", between 5'8" and 5'7", depending on the source. Men are taller, and that would be a smaller, much smaller man. And then two, well, this might have been something to ensure that people got thrown off the trail, because quite frankly, planting pipe bombs is just not the behavior of women. Violent activity is predominantly the behavior of men when it comes to.
Unless it's a trans woman or a trans man, unless it's a woman cosplaying as a man, because then her behavior would be that of simulating a male. So you wouldn't be able to discount and say, well, this person wouldn't do it because it's a woman. Remember, she's mentally ill. She's transitioning. She thinks she's a man trapped in a woman's body. So that's another way. See, when they have all these trans terrorists, that's how they're able to get away with so much stuff because the description can be off. You might think it's a man or you think it's a woman, and this person could just transform and put on the other gender's clothing, and you wouldn't know who you were looking at. That's why they make good spooks and good spies. And that's why they're also being weaponized and they're turned into terrorists against us right here in the United States. Mentally ill, no children, no family because they're never going to get married. The perfect weapon. Look at the Butler shooter. Look what they're saying about Tyler Robinson, even though I don't think he had anything to do with it. But just they look at Rampage Jackson. They use these autistic kids who have gender dysmorphia and they weaponize them. They're easy to manipulate. So even though this is a woman, she will behave like a man because she thinks she's a man.
To criminal violence. And so was this a tactic? I'm not sure. Let's read. The suspect's zone on the video, the veteran analysis from the blaze says that visual observations, they compared video of her walking during January 6th with the walking of her on the pipe bomb videos. Kirchhoff was a Capitol Police officer, 4.5 years, left the department in mid-2021, right after January, literally the same year, months after January 6th, for the CIA. Goodness gracious. In that job, she serves as a dignitary protection teams, including for CIA Director John Ratcliffe. Kirchhoff's resident in Alexandria, Virginia, appeared under the watch of law enforcement officers on Friday night. Blaze News editor Christopher Bedford was pulled over by a local police officer after stopping to observe the home. He was then allowed to leave. Goodness gracious.
So does that mean that local cops are looking out and stopping other people that are doing surveillance on her? Because why else would they pull over another person that's watching her house? And if they're watching for her, that means she's not there. So is she missing? Is she on the run? Is she hiding? Because if they're watching her house, that means they're waiting for her to come back. We have to make sure we stay on top of this. We need to make sure this woman is arrested and heavily interrogated. It's a 98% chance that that is the same person. The person walking is her from the video. 98% chance. That's more than enough for an arrest warrant, for a search warrant. And we have motive and video footage. That's enough for a conviction as well. But this is our own law enforcement, our own intelligence agencies. Do you know what this means? It means Trump was right. There is an active coup happening right now, still going on. It went on a few years ago, and now it's back in full swing. This is crazy. I mean, we need to also start rooting out who's in our Secret Service. We need to find out everyone who's in the White House, who's around the president, because these people, these people, this ideology, they're weapons. This is one of the first. Remember, all the shootings and stuff been over the last couple of years. All these trans doing terrorist attacks. This is 2021, January 6th. So this preempts all the rest of the trans terrorists. This is one of the first ones that I can remember. This is crazy.
The FBI failed to solve the case for nearly 5 years, but indicated that it was closing in after the blaze brought the investigation intelligence sources to its feet. The Falls Church address of the pipe bombing suspect days after January 6th. Former FBI Special Agent Kyle Seferin realized Friday that he was doing surveillance next door to the woman that it was suspected of being the pipe bomber. He was then sent off the case. He was called off the case. So here's what they're doing. They're finding footage of Kirchhoff and they're comparing it to the pipe bomber, and they're saying it is a 98% match. So Kyle Seferin is saying that the FBI effectively misdirected him and his team and then yanked them from the case when they got too close. Gate analysis. This is effectively saying that there was a 100%, like nearly 100% gate analysis, and they have crystal clear video of the officer on January 6th. And then what they're saying here, and this is very interesting, is that this is being compared to video that we haven't seen before, that was acquired by a source that has much clearer video than the FBI has released, and many have speculated that the FBI has doctored the actual footage.
Again, that means that the globalists have now infiltrated our CIA and our FBI. So that's Bongino, that's Cash Patel, and they're supposed to be these huge, oh, we love Israel, we love the Zionists, but there's no way because the globalists and the Zionists are at war, fighting over influence of the American arsenal right now. So you can't be beholden to two masters. So I'm not sure what side they're even on, but these are their agents underneath them that are literally being controlled by the globalists. Remember, the gay agenda is the Zionists, the trans agenda is the globalists. This is a trans person. This is a trans operative that planted those bombs. Those people are protected. This is this should scare the hell out of everybody, especially in the Trump administration, because now you got to question everyone around you. You don't know who's who anymore. There's really no idea. This is our own intelligence agents. This is one of our own Capitol Police officers. This is law enforcement. We can't let anyone who's trans or anyone who has that mental illness, we can't have them anywhere around our president or anything or any crucial infrastructure. They're terrorists. They're dangerous. The odds of them doing something are too high. Their grievances are with the entire world because of their mental illness. Not just Trump, but Trump and Kirk were just the top two because they spoke out against their ultimate plans and they exposed them. See, their ultimate plan was to take minor attracted persons, pedophiles, to change it from being a crime to being a accepted view, an accepted sexuality that deserves protections. So that way they don't go to jail when they're caught with kids. And but in California they took steps to just decriminalize it. So if you're 50 and you're caught with a 10-year-old, and if you're a 50-year-old person and you identify as gay and the kid identifies as gay, then you don't have to register as a sex offender anymore. Because in California, they said that the gay community was being too disproportionately charged with these crimes and put on sex offenders list because they were always the ones being caught with kids. So instead of saying, hey, we have a problem in our community, in the gay community, they said we need to get the laws changed. They were able to do that successfully in California, and that legislation was working its way east until Charlie Kirk and Trump started talking about it. So that's why when you see these people show up to these Charlie Kirk rallies and they hate him so much and they're so angry, it's because he literally cock-blocked them in a way. This was their way to have access to kids without going to prison. And they know they're going to die in prison if they go for this. So when they say that we're fighting for our lives, this is what they mean. Because they're going to lose their lives, they go to jail, so they have to change the laws. Trump and Kirk has literally put a stop to that and reversed it, if anything. So now they hate them. So now you guys understand why these trans people are so dangerous and why it's because they want access to kids, and Trump and Kirk help block that. That's blocked. So that's why they hate them. And because you're like, well, what is he saying? What are these guys saying that are so offensive? It's not that, it's the policies. They decriminalized it in California, and it was working its way east. They had things on the ballots in Colorado, Virginia, certain places, and now it's all reversed because the public found out. Everyone didn't know. I got friends in California that still didn't know about this, and I have to literally share with them the bills that were passed. There was a what's his name, Scott Wiener, what a strange name, Scott Wiener in Northern California. Look it up. Back in 2019, 2020, they passed it. So that's why these trans people are so dangerous, because the way I have an affinity for women, they have something like that for kids. And just like we'll do anything so that we can eventually have the women we want, they'll do anything to have access to the kids they want. You just don't understand it because you're not into kids. You don't understand it because you're not gay. But this is how those people live. That's all they have in their world. They have nothing else. So you got to keep that in mind. We have to do a complete audit. And even though you don't want to profile people and say, well, just because they're trans or gay, it's too risky. We can't risk it right now. There's too much at stake. And after what happened to Charlie, anything can happen to anyone. We have to be careful going forward.
In order to make it harder to determine gait and how this individual is walking. So that they've taken frames out or they've destabilized the videos. Very interesting. Blaze News approached numerous intelligence officials 2 weeks ago with questions of the findings of the investigation. Based on the description, behavior, suspected bomber, distinctive walk, slight limp, frame, and other factors. Footage of the pipe bombing suspect walking with a backpack on night of 5th compared to January 6th security video. Kirchhoff, various places on Capitol grounds, footage of her playing professional soccer in Ohio. The pipe bomb video that the Blaze used in its analysis was not footage released by the FBI. Video sleuth embarked on more than a year-long investigation told the Blaze that the footage made public by the FBI was manipulated to downsample frame rate. Although it shows the same scene as the FBI video clip, the clip used by the Blaze came from another source and is demonstrably clearer and with much smoother motion. This is just wild. The possible solutions to the pipe bomb mystery could have far-reaching reverberations. Several officers familiar with the government's investigative efforts said a new work is urgently needed to determine whether there were co-conspirators who aided and abetted the crimes, and why this Capitol police officer would be planting bombs. I mean, I think we know why.
One thing about these people is they're not the brightest. They're emotional, so they're not. But they're soldiers. They take orders. Somebody came to this woman and had her plant those bombs. She didn't think of that herself. These people are not organizing these things on their own. They're just doing what someone tells them to do. We need to find out who that is before something happens to this woman and she's missing. We got to interrogate her right now. She should already be in Guantanamo or some kind of black site, being interrogated as we speak. They have to get on this right away, because if we've figured out who this is, this can unravel everything. And whatever other plans they have in the future, the profile of this person, we can look for other people to know who to look out for. So they're going to have to neutralize this person, because if we get a hold of her and we can find out what she knows, we can stop everything. But they're saying now she works for the CIA, so she's a spook. And remember, they make good agents because you can literally transform your identity easy. I mean, that's the best part of having one of them as a spook.
Chris Wray obviously covered this up. And the FBI was just not solving the pipe bomb mystery. It was carrying out the largest investigation in history to hunt down the thousands of Americans who rioted at the Capitol. And this ultimately is very, very strange. The reactions after the bomb was discovered indicates that there was foreknowledge of this, and that perhaps the bomb had been just recently planted, in fact. Because when the Secret Service was notified of the bomb, nobody did anything. Kamala Harris was in the building, nobody did anything. Secret Service continued to eat their lunch after the bomb was discovered. They let trains pass by and children pass by the building. Nobody did anything.
Because it was supposed to be a false flag. They were just going to use the bombs to frame Trump supporters as being violent white supremacists, white nationalists. And that's all it was. They knew the bombs were not going to go off. They knew there was no danger. They knew this because they're the ones who put them there in the first place. That's what Benny Johnson is basically saying.
This goes through into the stalled investigation, all of the cover-up, and then goes into who Kirchhoff is. Born in November 1993, Hamilton, Ohio, youngest of 3 daughters. And she was a soccer star who broke her tibia and then developed a very specific style of walking and movement. And she was hired by the Capitol Police in 2018. She testified in a January 6th criminal trial that she applied for the current job, left the United States Capitol Police in good standing. The Capitol Police did not respond to the report, neither did the FBI and DOJ.
This is just, please share the video with your friends and family. They tried to frame us, and we have the proof now. Everyone needs to hear this. There's a complete media blackout. I don't see this on any of the major networks. I'm looking for it. That's why I'm doing a video about it. Hopefully somebody else will do a video, and we'll get, because right now there's only 2 videos about this up right now. This has been going, this is 15, 16 hours later. Benny Johnson and Salty Cracker, that's it. And now the single boyfriend, I'm doing a video about it. This needs to be everywhere, because when they were trying to frame us, they put it everywhere. I didn't hear the end of this pipe bomb BS, and people kept bringing it to me like, oh, you love Trump, but what about the pipe bomb? And now you find out it was just some trans, mentally ill, liberal cop that was responsible. a leftist cop was responsible. But who is behind her? And we need to find that out. And I'm sure that person's going to snitch and roll over, even if they're in the CIA. But we have to get our hands on her before something happens, before she disappears or worse. She needs to be interrogated to the fullest. I know Trump doesn't have the stomach for this, but we're going to need him to grow a stronger brass pair, because we have to be tough right now. This isn't a time to be weak. This isn't the time to be political. This is a time for action. We need to find out what she knows. Share this video, like and subscribe. Right Wing Rico, the single boyfriend. I'll be back with another story in about 20 minutes on live. I'll see you guys again shortly. Follow my channel for more updates. Right Wing Rico, or the single boyfriend on YouTube. Thank you.
The FBI and DOJ.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.